What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Triple AFK. If you're new here, this is the space where we step away from the keyboard of a mundane, standard lifestyle and actually step into the reality of our potential. Now, look, today's episode is a bit different. This isn't a quick 5-minute lifestyle vlog or short. This is the full, deep dive masterclass. We're sitting to tackle one of our absolute biggest, heaviest issues facing students and young people today. The crippling anxiety of trying to find your career and figure out your entire life, basically like your passion. I want to speak directly to you if you're in school, you're in college, or your early years of university, and you're sitting there looking at a blank laptop screen feeling completely lost. You're under a massive pressure to pick a single path, sign up for a massive amount of student debt, and know exactly who you are and going to be for the next 40 years. I'm here to tell you that the idea of a clean straight line path is a complete lie. We live in an era what I call the unclear. It's a state of absolute chaos. There is too much noise. Too many social media options, too many expectations from the parents, lectures, and zero actual clarity. You are left drowning in these options and feeling paralysed by the fear of making the wrong choice. Over the next half hour, I'm pulling back the curtains completely. I want to take you through my own raw journey, from building web architectures and flipping items as a side hustles, to standing in the dark clinic corners, shadowing clinicians, to navigating the intense, brutal workload of medical science as a student physiotherapist. Everything we talk about today is the foundation of why I wrote my brand new book, which is officially live on Amazon right now. So, go grab a drink, put your phone on Do Not Disturb, and let's sit down and figure out how to build a career that actually fits your human design. Let's get into it. The reality of shadowing the clinician. Let's start with phase 1, the exploration phase. How do you actually find out what a career looks like before you even waste years of your life studying for it? When I first started thinking about healthcare and physiotherapy, I didn't just look at university prospectus. I knew that brochures only show you the highlight reel. They show you a picture of a smiling therapist holding a clipboard in a perfectly lit room. That's not reality. So I went into the real world. I cold emails, I knocked on doors, and I secured clinical shadowing opportunities. I stood in corners of private practices, outpatient clinics, and intense hospital environments, and honestly, it was a massive psychological shock. When you learn about physio from the outside, it looks like a clean algorithmic science. You think a patient walks in, lower back pain, I give them 3 exercises, I press a muscle, they walk out completely cured. But when you're actually standing there in the room, you see the raw, unedited truth. You see a seasoned clinician sitting opposite a human being, which is in agonising pain from a chronic health disease. Or someone who has had a massive shock and has completely lost the ability to use the left side of their body. In those moments, you realise that physiotherapy isn't just about biomechanics, muscles and bones. It's about deep, heavy human connection. You aren't just treating a physical injury. You're treating a person's fear, their frustration and their loss of identity. I remember sitting in the staff room during lunch breaks, talking to senior therapists. I'd ask them about academic questions. I asked them about the real stuff. I said, what keeps you up at night? How do you step away from the keyboard and leave other people's trauma at the door? How do you protect your own heart when your daily job is managing someone's pain? Those conversations completely shifted my mindset. And this is my first major piece of advice for you today. You need to run a low-cost trial of your dream. Do not commit to 3 or 4 year degree based on a Google search or a TikTok video. Go find a professional, shadow them, watch them how they handle the worst parts of their day and the best. If you can watch a professional deal with paperwork, the difficulty with patients, and the emotional fatigue, and you still think it's good, I want to do this, then you found your path. A career isn't just a title you display on LinkedIn. It's an identity you live every single day. Surviving the studios and the neurodiversity edge. Once you pass the exploration phase, you hit the wall of reality, the actual studying. Let's talk about the academic side of medical science, because this is where a lot of people quit or feel like they aren't smart enough. If you know anything about my personal background from my YouTube channel, you know that I navigate my entire life with dyslexia. Traditional education is built for very specific types of people. It's built for linear thinkers. The system tells you, read this 800-page textbook, memorize these thousands of bullet points, sit completely silent in an exam hall, and write back out in a straight line. For the longest time, that structure made me feel stupid. It made me feel like I wasn't cut out for university, let alone the rigorous medical science discipline where people's health is on the line. When I started physiotherapy studies, trying to memorize neurological pathways and the anatomy list, using the traditional methods, it completely fried my brain. I was drowning. But then I had a massive mindset shift. I realised my brain wasn't broken. It was just running completely different in a different operating system. My mind doesn't think in straight lines. It thinks in networks, webs and stories. So I stopped trying to study like everyone else. I started developing what I call non-linear study hacks. Instead of reading blocks of text, I started by visualizing web architectures. I mapped the human body not as a static muscle list, but as a living, moving story. In chapter 6 of my book, which I call the neurodiversity edge, I give a deep dive into the concept you perceived weakness. Whether it's dyslexia, ADHD, or just a different way of processing the world, I explain that the world is not roadblocks. If you learn how to architect them correctly, they become the absolute highest personal asset. Because I have a dyslexia, I look at the human movement, a patient recovery differently. I don't just see a isolated knee injury. My brain automatically maps the entire systematic chain of how that person moves, thinks and adapts. If you're a student right now and you're struggling with your course, load, or terrified of failing your next placement, hear me clearly. You do not lack intelligence. You are just trying to run modern, advanced software on a outdated educational operating system. You have to change the way you absorb information. Teach concepts to a camera, a mirror, or even a friend. Draw on the walls, create visual stories. Hack your education to fit your brain, not the other way around. The side hustles and student mental health. Now let's look into the third layer of the blueprint, the balance and the mental health. As a student, you aren't just sitting in a vacuum studying. You've got life happening. You've got bills to pay, you've got student finance to stress about, and honestly, a lot of us have a massive desire to explore others' passions. Before I went deep into physiotherapy, I was experimenting. I was building a website architectures, diving into the world of reselling and flipping items, and eventually starting Triple AFK YouTube channel to document the madness of the medical school and to explore careers and passions. A lot of people told me, Daniel, you need to focus on one thing. You can't focus on physiotherapy and being a content creator and running side hustles. You're going to mess up your degrees. But let's look at life through a framework, what I call side quests. Your main career path is your main storyline, but side quests are where you build your unique flavours and extra skills and your alternative perspectives. The secret to managing all of this without completely burning your engine out comes from a concept from chapter 2 of the book, Identity Votes. Every single day, you are casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. You don't build a fulfilling career by making one massive change next year. You build it through tiny atomic micro changes today. If you just spend 15 minutes a day working on a creative project, or reading a book outside your syllabus, or exercise in your head, you are casting a vote for multi-dimensional life. But you have to protect your machine. The modern landscape, we're taught to hustle until we drop. We see content creators online telling us to sleep 4 hours and work 20 hours a day, similar to Elon Musk. This is a fast track to a clinical depression and professional burnout. Your mental and physical health are not luxuries where you can treat yourself after you become successful. Your health is your primary business asset. It always comes first. If a mechanic doesn't oil his tools, the tools break and the business stops. If you do not schedule rest, boundaries, and time completely away from your keyboard, your cognitive tools will break. Treat your sleep, your nutrition, and your mental peace as a mandatory part of your career strategy. High performance requires deliberate maintenance. The future frontier, AI and the human element. Let's look forward now. If you're entering the workforce over the next few years, the landscape is looking wild. We stand on the edge of massive digital frontier. We've seen artificial intelligence, advanced robotics, and automation completely disrupt every single traditional industry. We are seeing, even in healthcare and physiotherapy, we are starting to see AI diagnostic tools, wearable tech that tracks biomechanics in real time, and automated rehab programs. A lot of people ask me, Daniel, is it even worth studying anymore? Aren't the machines just going to take over and we're not going to have any jobs? What's the point? But here's the honest truth. The core message of the chapter 10 of my book, The High Tech Requires High Touch. An AI language model can scan 1 million data points in 2 seconds and generate a mathematical perfect exercise plan for a patient, a robotic arm, and can apply a precise measured force to a joint. But do you know what machines can never do? Machines cannot look into the eyes of patients who are terrified that they'll never walk their daughter down the aisle and provide authentic empathy. A machine cannot feel the shift in a human's tension when a patient is holding back tears because of an emotional trauma. A machine cannot build trust. The future of work belongs to people who can master the human element. Your technical knowledge is just a baseline entry ticket. Your real power, your ultimate insurance policy against automation, is your emotional intelligence. It's your ability to communicate, to listen effectively, to read between the lines, and to show real raw human compassion. As the world becomes more digital and more isolated, high-value human connection becomes the rarest and expensive and most expensive. Do not just train to be a technical data professor. Train to be a master of human relationship and understanding. That is how you become irreplaceable. Okay, let's jump to another key concept. The 90-day sprint and a blueprint for action. We're entering the final stretch of the masterclass, and I want to leave you with something completely practical that you can execute the second this episode ends. When you look at your life through a 5-year or 10-year window, it's completely terrifying. You start overthinking. What if I don't get placement? What if the economy crashes? What if I choose the wrong path? I want you to stop planning your life in decades. I want you to start architecting your life in a 90-day sprint. 90-day sprint is a concept/detail I explore in chapter 12. It's a 3-month, high-intensity, completely focused mission. You pick one clear area, your professional self, that you want to transform, and you execute micro changes. If you're trying to figure out your career, make your 90 days about pure exploration. Commit to reaching out to 3 professionals a week. If you're struggling with your studies, make your 90 days about completely rebuilding your study architecture. 3 months is long enough to see life-changing results, but short enough that you don't get paralyzed by the big picture. Everything we have broken down: the shadow in reality, hacking neurodiversity, your health as an asset, mastering your cue, and executing these sprints. This is why I built the Mindset Architecture Blueprint for a Fulfilling Career, also known as One Life, Just One. I didn't write textbook to lecture you. I wrote an interactive blueprint. I dedicated notation pages at the back because I want you to literally write your own thoughts, sketch your own systems, and design your own path directly inside these pages. If you're ready to stop letting the noise of the world dictate your identity, if you're ready to take control of your blueprints, the book is officially live on Amazon right now. One Life, Just One. You can click the short link in the description below, or just type One Life, Just One in the Amazon. If this deep dive brought you any value today, do me a massive favour: subscribe to this podcast channel, share this episode with your friends who you think that will really benefit from Just One. Thank you for listening to this podcast. See you in the next one.